Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the show. Okay, so you might not have enough money for a Type R, I get it, but you still want VTEC, okay? This is the 2019 Acura ILX A-Spec, and it just might be the solution. Let's go for a drive.
Always be the one you wanna call when it's cold outside. I will always be the one that's right here, standing by your side. Open up your heart and let me in. I promise not to break you. I promise I'll be all that you want. So
Okay, so the 2019 Acura ILX A-Spec is a new model. It comes with an 8-speed dual clutch transmission, a 201 horsepower, naturally aspirated inline-4 under the hood with VTEC, as mentioned previously. So with the A-Spec, you get a few visual modifications that are the biggest changes with the package. You get these cool badges first off. It has to be mentioned as well, this red is also spec'd on the Acura NSX. Very exclusive color, looks phenomenal. You get these LED fog lights under here with the A-Spec. You get these side skirts as well. And then in the back, you get a little mini deck led spoiler, which is pretty cool. This is also the Tech A-Spec, which comes with a few extra features on the inside that we will get to. But let's go for a drive and see how it does. This is the 2019 Acura ILX A-Spec. A new model for Acura, a little bit of a departure from the Civic. And here's the thing, it's got an 8-speed dual clutch transmission paired with a naturally aspirated 2.4 liter inline-4. It's a pretty fun car, so we're gonna take it on the back roads and see how it does for a performance car as well as just your average daily driver kind of sedan. First off, Honda, I think you're doing a great job, designing this car. I think the car looks good. One glaring thing though, on the exterior looks of this car, that Acura badge is about triple the size that it should be. It is way too big. It's comically large. Every time someone comes up to the car, or like when we first picked up the car, there was an audible chuckle. Just look, we're like, is that real? Are you serious about that? Is that just like enlarged? Like, I know it's there because it's covering up where the radar is for the cruise control and a couple other things, but that's no excuse. Like, I think it looks better how Mercedes does it with the S-Class, just having even a big black box in there. It doesn't look great, but it looks better than, boasting about your huge Acura logo. So the ILX A-Spec Tech package comes in at $35,000 Canadian, or just over that. And with the Tech package, you do get a couple of things. You get navigation, you get an upgraded sound system, you get lane departure warning, you get a few other things, you get radar cruise control, etc. But for $35,000 Canadian, especially after driving Mazda's new lineup, and I hate to keep coming back to that, but you don't have a heated steering wheel, you don't have vented seats, you don't have a super modern infotainment system, which Grayson will get to. It's not like the navigation's a little bit dated. This screen is extremely dated, dated looking. It's pretty responsive. It just looks a little bit dated. So aside from the visual modifications that make the A-Spec stand out from the standard ILX, the biggest change in my mind, if you are an enthusiast or if you like driving a little bit, you know, spirited on the back roads. If you like to hit VTEC, which we'll get to later, this does come with wider tires than the standard ILX. The A-Spec does come with 225 wide tires all the way around versus 215s with the base car. So it's, you know, it's a little bit of an upgrade. Maybe noticeable, who knows? So as far as dual clutches go, I mean, Honda is fairly new to the dual clutch game. Basically, the only other Honda dual clutch I've driven was the new NSX that I drove briefly down in California. This does not compare to that. Don't get it wrong, when you hear Acura dual clutch or Honda dual clutch, it's just not the same dual clutch as in the NSX. And I would not expect that, obviously. The NSX is a supercar. This is a like mid-range, mid-size sedan. That being said, it's pretty good. I'm really glad this came with a dual clutch. You can also get this in a manual, which I really wish the press fleets more often would come in a manual, but I get it. Most people are buying automatics. Like the vast majority of people want an automatic. And for an automatic, it's very good. Now, we'll put it in sport mode here, and I won't shift using the paddles. And you can hear VTEC right there, 5,000 RPM. And it goes, it's got 201 horsepower, 180 pound-feet of torque at 3,600 RPM. It's a 2.4 liter, you guys. As far as naturally aspirated four cylinders go, that's to the larger end, and the added displacement over like a base kind of 1.6 or 1.8 liter is much appreciated. It actually has usable torque at around 3,000 RPM right there. It's not monstrous, it's not blow your doors off fast. It's just to the point of being quick. But it's only quick if you are above 5,000 RPM where VTEC is, which is a good thing. If you're buying this car, I highly suggest, if you don't know much about Hondas or their power bands and how the power is delivered, if you want all the power, you need to be between 5 and 7,000 RPM. But there is a catch. There is a catch. And I'm going to point this out. And you know, most modern cars are like this, and I'm not sure, I haven't figured out a way to turn this off or somehow get around this, but so we're in manual and you can shift with the paddles, and I will go full throttle and try to hit the 7,000 RPM red line, and it shifted before me. It shifted before I had a chance to shift. It shifts early. There's no way to hit 7,000 RPM, even in manual mode, controlling with the paddles. False advertising, Honda. What good does a red line do if you can't actually hit it? Ever. It's got enough power and it's got enough sportiness that it kind of gives you like a little bit of a taste of what Honda's capable of in their sedans without breaking the bank for a Civic Type R. Now, is this a baby Civic Type R? Absolutely not. It does not have a limited slip differential up front, so, you know, low speed corners when you're exiting, you do get either understeer or a little bit of torque steer, one tire fire, or a mixture of both. So, you know, it is what it is, but again, those 225 tires all the way around really help. That's a huge upgrade for the A-Spec, and it just looks good. I think if you're gonna get the ILX, I'd say definitely go with the A-Spec. It's not that much more above the base. The only argument would be that the base model also comes with the exact same power figure and torque figure. Nothing has changed with the transmission or the engine from the base model ILX up to the top version. There's no power change. So you get the good engine regardless. So the dual clutch is good. I have to say though, we recently drove the Elantra N-Line, and it honestly, it really pains me to say this, but I think that dual clutch is better. I think Hyundai's dual clutch is a little bit better, and I will explain why, and I will demonstrate why. When you put it in sport and you're shifting on your own, like I said, upshifting's fairly responsive. It's not instant. there is definitely a delay. It's somewhere in between a torque converter and like a supercar dual clutch that you would find. So like right here, shifting just past VTEC, very nice. It gives you a little bit of a kick in the seat, but there's a very small dip in torque, but it's really not noticeable. It's really not noticeable. The issue I have with this dual clutch is the delay on the downshifts. Now, it will blip the revs immediately, but then you can feel the clutch engage, the second clutch engage for the actual downshift. So shift, now it's in gear. You can feel it. It's really hard to show this on camera, to be honest, but you're going, it rev matches. If you watch my hand, it'll rev match instantly when I click. Now it's in gear. But you'll feel it like finally getting gear after that. So once you downshift, you can't just get on the gas immediately. There, see? It takes a second. I think it's pretty good. These pedals are not big enough. They basically just cover like a couple centimeters on the top here, and that's about it. Best part about this car is absolutely VTEC though. The engine's the best part about this car, which in a Honda, that's not surprising at all. That's how it should be. Turn-in's really good. Steering, I think, is a little bit too light. Again, this is not a performance sedan. I know, I get that, you know. We will get to details in the interior, but I have to say, for $35,000, I was expecting a little bit more from the interior. If you like driving though, and your priority is the driving experience and being able to shift yourself when you get bored during rush hour and good driving dynamics, it's a good car. One thing that has to be said though, you will scrape the front end on like every speed bump. Like a larger speed bump, there's like wind deflectors in front of the front wheels there, and they are completely chewed up. I mean, this car only has 5,000 kilometers on it, and they are chewed up. So just be wary of that when the front dips. It's pretty low, and it will 100% scrape on you. So just be wary of that.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away. Had to find the person I'd become. You should go back home, go back home, go back home, go. It's been there all along. You should go back home, go back home, go back home, go.
So recently we filmed our first 2019 Honda, which was the HR-V. And I have to say, overall, I was a little bit disappointed on the inside. That being said, it was only around a $30,000 car, so my expectations weren't very high to start off with, because you know, you have all the features like the all-wheel drive system, and it's an SUV, which usually costs a little bit more. So immediately I figured that the quality of the inside wouldn't necessarily be the greatest. But now we have the Acura, which is the more luxurious brand from Honda. So you would imagine that the interior would be quite a bit better. Unfortunately, I don't find it's the case. But let's hop inside and I'll show you guys. So as soon as you hop into this car, the first thing that you notice is the two screen setup they have here. I find it quite comical that you actually have two separate screens with two different functionalities. Everything inside this car is very basic. It's not innovative, it's very simple. It just doesn't really jump out at me as being something that's overly high quality by any stretch of the imagination. So looking at the gauge cluster, they've included this little LCD screen in the middle, and I find this is quite pixelated. It looks dated, there's nothing really interesting going on here, it's very plain. And again, it being an Acura, I really wish they did something a bit different there. So looking at the navigation system, I have to say it's absolutely terrible. It's one of the worst navigation systems I've seen, especially it being a newer car. The feedback from it is very laggy and it just jumps. It's not smooth at all and it's very pixelated. Also in this car, the reverse camera is quite disappointing. I find that it's a very big fisheye and it's quite distorted. Definitely not one of the better cameras I've seen. Now, I have to say that one of my favorite features of this car actually are the seats. And I think they've done such a cool design with the incorporation of the actual fabric down the middle, but you have the leather sides. So you kind of get a little bit of the best of both worlds. They feel great, the leather is very sturdy, and just having that little bit of fabric there really helps you sit into the seat and not slide around, especially while in corners. Besides that, I don't really know what else to say about this car. It's not an innovative design, it's not very unique, it's just a very basic interior. But anyways, let's hop back in the car with Marcus and finish up the review.
Yeah, VTEC is great though. There's no... And now maybe this is something to be saved for the Type Rs of the lineup or the NSXs of the lineup, but there is no mention or hint anywhere around the ILX that it has VTEC. Unless you read the owner's manual or look under the engine bay, you have no idea that after 5,000 RPM, that's when the fun starts. There it is. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but yeah, it's a big jump in power after 5. It's honestly like very noticeable, which it should be. If you're looking for an alternative to a Civic Si and don't want to spend the money for a Type R, I think the ILX A-Spec is a very good option, honestly. I think it does the things that it aims to do right, like the engine, the transmission, the driving dynamics. I mean, the car drives phenomenal. It's got very good road holding capabilities. It rides really nice. It's comfortable. All the stuff that it sets out to do well, it does very well. The stuff that kind of is maybe not a priority, you can definitely feel that it's not a priority. Which isn't the greatest, but again, every car cannot be the jack of all trades. So you can't really knock Honda for a few things here, but for the money, I think you can definitely do better if your priority is just having a comfortable interior. But if you want like a little bit of a sporty hint, just a tad of like, you know, a little bit of liveliness, this definitely has it. Definitely. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Marcus, as always. You're watching Roads Untraveled. Subscribe if you have not already. We've got a whole new line of engine code jet tags on our store. The link is in the description. You guys should definitely check that out. Some really cool stuff we got going on there. A few exciting videos coming up, so stay tuned. You can follow me on Instagram at Roads Untraveled. We'll see you next time.